What's going on, everybody? This is Star, and welcome back to the channel. It took us a long time, but we've made it. We are officially in the Star Wars gaming renaissance period. As of recording this, we have 9, maybe 10 Star Wars games currently in development. And that's only what we know about. When it comes to video games, though, Star Wars is sometimes like a pregnant senator. She's got the twins cooking, but it takes her forever to deliver. Lucasfilm Games' announcement back in 2021 told us that their plan moving forward was to release one major game and one smaller game every single year.
Two there are.
With Jedi Survivor clearly being the major release of 2023, and with only a few months left in the year, we're almost due for the second one, so I think it's worth a look ahead to see what games are on the way and which one might be the next release.
This is where the fun begins.
The refs have stepped in and made EA let go of their exclusivity chokehold. Now the development of new Star Wars games has opened up to any developer that wants a crack at it. There's a few currently at work, but the busiest out of all of them is easily Respawn Entertainment. Both Jedi Fallen Order and Survivor were huge successes, no matter which way you look at it, so Respawn is the golden goose studio right now. When you put out 2 instant classics like that, you basically get the keys to the kingdom.
With great power comes great responsibility.
Uno, dos, tres más Star Wars games are in development at Respawn right now. The most obvious one, of course, being Jedi 3, whatever it will be called. Cameron Monaghan, who plays Cal in the series, confirmed that the third game is a reality and it's currently in development, although we just got Survivor, so I wouldn't expect news about a third game for a long time, especially considering there was a 4-year gap between the first 2 games. My best guess is it won't be out until about 2026. Quite a ways off, but we at least know it's being worked on and that it will most likely cap off the story as a trilogy.
Freedom things?
We also know a first-person shooter is on the table at Respawn, and as much as I wish it were a successor to Battlefront 2, this will be a standalone title instead. It's going to be a single-player game very much like Jedi, except instead of a lightsaber, the focus is going to be on blasters, and it sounds like there's also going to be a focus on narrative choice, most likely dialogue options that let you choose which path of the story you want to go down. That's a feature that's missing so far in the Jedi series, so there's replayability here. It's just a shame that there's no multiplayer to speak of. We've been needing another good multiplayer game since 2020, and another shooter would be perfect. Respawn has been killing it with their in-house shooter Apex Legends, so we know they could pull it off. But everything we've heard about this game so far sounds like it'll just be a single-player title, so I'm not holding my breath for online play. Old school fans of the classic Dark Forces 2 should feel right at home though, since this game is allegedly taking huge inspiration from that title and others like it. The third game in development at Respawn is Real-Time Strategy, and all we know about this one is that it's a collaborative effort between Respawn and Bit Reactor. Bit Reactor is a new development studio, but it's made up of industry veterans. It's the same guys who've made games like XCOM and Civilization. The real-time strategy genre is their forte, so this team-up is perfect for a game like this. I was a huge fan of Star Wars Commander before it got shut down, and Empire at War is still one of the greatest RTS games ever made, so if that's the standard to go off of, I actually have really high hopes for this new one.
I got a really good feeling about this.
Real quick, guys, this video is brought to you by Fine Edition Sabers.
Make a fine addition.
I'm really late to plug this, and I hope Fine Edition can forgive me. They sent me this beautiful box to open on the channel and show off this perfect replica of Luke Skywalker's lightsaber from Return of the Jedi. Look at this thing, it's like a briefcase. This is easily one of the best lightsabers I've ever held. The material is strong and the hilt looks exactly how it does in the movie. They have an incredible selection of dueling grade lightsabers that are modeled after the ones that we see in the movies, so you can pick out your favorite one just like I did. Out of the box, you get the blade, the hilt, tools to assemble it all, a charge cord, and some software that lets you update the sounds that your saber can make. There are a bunch of different settings and colors that you can mess around with, and the blade itself is blindingly bright. Check out the link in the pinned comment and in the description to head over to Fine Edition and let them know the Star Bazaar sent you. You'll be hearing about these guys a lot more often. Huge thank you to Fine Edition for sponsoring the video and for making us feel like real-life Jedi, not unlike the Jedi franchise. Now don't get me wrong, both games are great, but in a way, I feel like they've poisoned the well when it comes to genre diversity in the upcoming slate of games. More than half of the announced titles are going to be, quote, narrative-driven action-adventure games, and I think we have the success of Jedi to thank for that. There's nothing wrong with a narrative-driven game, on the surface, but to me that means that these will mostly all be single-player games. And I'm the kind of person who needs my multiplayer fix, man. I need it! The only multiplayer Star Wars game that's being developed right now is also the only game in this video that has something of a release date. Star Wars Hunters by Zynga is a team-based 4 vs 4 arena game that's been in soft launch in select countries since 2021. It's been in a development hell, constantly getting pushed back and delayed year after year. But now we finally have some official insight to a possible release date. Take-Two Interactive is the parent company to Zynga, and according to their earnings reports, Hunters will now be releasing in fiscal year 2024. The end of their fiscal year is March 31st, which means that this game could release at any point between now and then. We could see this game drop tomorrow for all we know, as long as it doesn't get another delay. We'll know when we get close, when we see more trailers and marketing for it. As of now, marketing has not begun for Hunters, so it'll probably be another couple of months. But incidentally, marketing has begun for Ubisoft's Outlaws, which will be the next major game that we're gonna get, most likely around May of 2024. This one is historic for the sole reason that it's the very first open-world Star Wars game that's ever been made, which already opens up a galaxy's worth of possibilities. This one is gonna have some features that both gamers and Star Wars fans alike have wanted for decades, like seamless ground-to-space transitions and a GTA-style wanted meter that sends progressively more intense waves of Empire troops after you. Basically, it's Grand Theft Auto in space, and I'm here for it. In Outlaws, we'll play as Kay Vess, a rogue gunslinger who does odd jobs for the different crime syndicates around the galaxy. This one is another narrative-driven game, but the open-world nature should keep us hooked for a long time. I'm definitely looking forward to this one, and we'll have a lot more videos on Outlaws as we get closer to its release. But for now, let's look at the remaining games that we haven't gone over yet. Star Wars Eclipse will probably be one of the major annual releases whenever it comes out. We got this cinematic trailer almost 2 years ago now, and ever since it's been near radio silence on the development of the game. This one is advertised as, surprise surprise, another narrative-driven action-adventure game. And the most recent update that we've heard from Quantic Dream, who are the developers behind this one, is that the game is, quote, still being worked on, it's just not ready yet, with their vice president of marketing saying that it's, quote, simmering. Then we have the Knights of the Old Republic remake, and great news for anyone who thought this one was canceled. It is still being developed. There was that little bit of controversy a few months ago where the trailer got pulled from online without any warning, and everybody thought the game got canned. Turns out there was some issue with music rights and the license holders of those rights. It ended up just being about the music and not the actual game, so as far as we know, Aspyr Media are still plugging away at it. Then after that, we have Amy Hennig's Star Wars game, codenamed Project Walton. And this one is probably the least talked about out of all of the ones in this video. Amy Hennig was the person in charge of Visceral Games before the studio got shut down by EA in 2017. This was the studio that was developing the grounded Project Ragtag, a Star Wars game that would have featured the more underworld side of the galaxy. With her new studio, Skydance New Media, it's great that Amy and her team can keep working in the Star Wars universe, because there were probably some amazing assets from the development of Ragtag that went unused for years. Now they can reach back into that box and use those assets to build this new game from the ground up. We know virtually nothing about it, but once again, it's described as a narrative-driven action game. Wouldn't it be nice to have just one other multiplayer title?
Please! God damn it!
The last game that we know of is one that slipped through the cracks. It actually has not been announced yet, and the only reason we know about it is because of an insider named Andy Robinson, who said this on Twitter, now X, a few months ago. I assume you won't have to wait much longer for a new Star Wars real-time strategy game. He goes on to say that this one is different from the one being developed by Respawn and BitReactor, and that this one has not been announced. That struck me as super interesting, because that means that there could be other Star Wars games being developed right now that also have not been announced. I'd call this an embarrassment of riches, but we still have to wait for these games to actually release. So which one is the most likely to drop next? Based on everything we know about the current lineup, I would say the safest bet for the next release is Star Wars Hunters by Zynga. Which would actually be the smart choice, considering it's going to be non-stop single-player games for a while. Let us have the multiplayer, and then the floodgates of narrative games can open up. So to recap everything that we know is being worked on, we have an FPS, an RTS, and Jedi 3 all coming out of Respawn. Zynga is bringing us Hunters, Outlaws is Ubisoft baby, Eclipse is the brainchild of Quantic Dream, and KOTOR is still being worked on by Aspyr. Then there's the unannounced real-time strategy game that was hinted at, And that inspired me to do a little bit of digging into some other studios that you might want to keep your eyes on. I don't have any secret info or anything on whether or not these devs are working on a Star Wars game or not, but these are some new independent studios, very similar to BitReactor, who are made up of industry vets. Also, the names kind of make me turn my head and wonder. We have Wildflower Interactive, Gravity Well Games, and That's No Moon Entertainment. That last one especially makes me turn my head.
That's no moon.
Although, again, there's no proof they're working on anything related to Star Wars. They do claim to be in the business of narrative-driven games, though, so considering the lineup of games we've got, I think that they would fit right in. The current lineup of games is looking really good. There are a lot of Star Wars games in development. It's just unfortunate that almost every single one of them is a single-player game. Personally, I would like to see a wider spread of genres, and it's a bit of a missed opportunity to limit Star Wars to just single-player. There are so many player-versus-player genres that Star Wars can explore, such as racing, fighting, battle royale, but that's going to be the topic for next time. If you liked today's video, though, let me know by dropping a like, and drop a comment below letting me know what game you're looking forward to most out of all the ones I've listed so far. But that's going to do it from me for today. This has been Star, you're watching the Star Bazaar, and I'll see you next time. Stay weird, fam.